Oh, what's goody, everyone? I hope y'all are good. Pull up a seat. Let's have a little chat, shall we? I want to talk about a game that I haven't covered in a good amount of time. A game I looked at and said, oh yeah, this is gonna hit once it comes to Steam. Then it released on Steam, and it sorta didn't. We're talking about Caliber, a third-person tactical shooter that incorporates operators with different abilities. There's a PvE mode, a PvP mode, and a PvEVP mode that's, well, it's a mode. I ultimately want to give my take on why I think this game didn't really capture the audience we hoped for, why them implementing a first-person mode probably didn't mean much in the long run, and how they could possibly turn the tide in their favor if they even can. Now, if this all sounds interesting and you want to see more, be sure to sub to the channel, and let's get right on with it. I want to start by saying that I love Caliber for what it is. Right? With me being on a huge Siege kick lately, Caliber somewhat falls into that same line of tactical shooter I'm enjoying. Hell, I was playing this game when you had to download their launcher and play the game that way. I was also playing when they shut down the US servers for international circumstances, and I even made a video or two on it. So you're probably asking yourself, Blackout, what has brought you here today? Why are you retracting your claims that this game will dominate the third-person space? I thought about this long and hard, and while there are a ton of reasons you could probably explain why, I narrowed them down to two. One, the game's monetization model is some of the worst I've ever seen, or at least I think so. And two, this game was not made for a Western audience. Starting with the first one, I was confident that 1C would never incorporate anything that would even touch the line of pay to win, or would at least have the capability to create a fair monetization system. Hell, I was bold enough to believe that the game would rely strictly on the sale of coins or even cosmetics. But if this is what you call sticking my foot in my mouth, I was all the way to the goddamn ankle. First, let me tell you about Caliber Plus, okay? I went on the Caliber website and
you've got mail.
Oh, well, that ain't nice. I went to the Caliber site and I saw that you can spend around 35 USD that allows you to save time and credits when upgrading your operators, as well as a few other things. I mean, if you don't have enough time to play Caliber and you want to spend the money to progress a bit more, that's entirely your business. I don't like it, but hey, you're a grown person more than likely. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money. What I have an issue with is that you can get this exact same deal plus 12 maxed out operators, some of which are OP as fuck, for $100 USD. That's pretty insane, but let me continue on. When it comes to the battle pass, I know a lot of people have their own little issues about it, but let's just stick to this. There's 4 30-tier episodes that cost around 2,500 credits a piece. If you bundle them all together, that's about 8,000 credits, or right around $10. Seems fair, right? But if you complete all 4 battle passes, you only get 2,400 coins, barely enough to buy 1 episode. That right there is some DEFCON 1 bullshit. Look at Call of Duty or even Rainbow Six Siege's battle pass. If you buy it and complete it, you'll typically have enough to buy the next one at no additional charge. That's a benefit to the player. They play the game enough to buy the battle pass, they complete it, they get the next one courtesy of their playtime. It feels like your playtime is actually rewarded in that sense, right? What 1C did was say, for completing 120 tiers, we're gonna give you 90% off 1 episode. You're welcome. Okay, Blackout, we get it. The monetization is bad, but what does that have to do with the game itself? Fair enough. I mean, you'll probably care more about the second part anyway, so let me go on and say it. Now, I personally believe that this game was simply not made for a Western audience, because the Western audience doesn't want stuff like this in a tactical third-person shooter. But if your counter argument is, well, what about R6? Let me create one as well. We can agree that while some of the abilities in Rainbow Six are wacky, they make sense at the end of the day. Everything seems balanced across the board and you have a chance to stand your ground. Now we have Caliber that isn't afraid of showing the player base that there are ops that they prefer you use over others. Like, while I was getting some gameplay, there's this one operator that goes invincible, absorbs all damage, will take all that damage once his ability runs out, but can one-shot melee you. I forgot the name, but it's best I forget because I will leave every single game that this dude gets used in. I believe I even mentioned this being an issue 1 year ago, and even with any sort of balancing made to him, he's still a fucking behemoth. The PvE mode is fine, but it feels like the AI are cranked to the max and their damage is damn near double yours. Now, I don't know if it's me, but the PvP mode doesn't really feel balanced. I mean, I'm glad I can still find US servers, but with the operators going from doing piss all to being miniature juggernauts, it's hard to admit when you've been outplayed or outgunned. And the PvEVP mode, it is what it is, alright? I'm not a fan of it, but I don't think it's the worst idea. So knowing that all of this is still an issue, I wouldn't say I was surprised to see that this game is not doing the best on Steam, but I can see that it has a niche community, which I'm really happy about. The community that plays this game are those that want a genuine third-person experience, and dare I say, a SOCOM experience. You damn sure can't put your faith into Peak 53 or From Within. And that's fine if it stays niche, but the issue becomes when the niche community isn't supporting the game. They can keep buying all the coins and battle passes that they want, but it'd be better if more than 1,000 people were doing it, at least on the Steam side of things. Maybe this game is a huge hit on the other side of the planet, but in the West, look at the top dogs right now. Call of Duty, R6, Battlefield even, all first-person experiences. Which brings me to my next point. Why did y'all decide to bring back the first-person mode and not have it its own dedicated mode? Listen, I want to lay the foundation for my point by saying this. I think that if you play a third-person shooter and complain of third-person peeking when everyone has a third-person perspective, Dr. Seuss books are probably at a college level for you. It's the dumbest thing for a person to bitch about in a third-person shooter, in my eyes at least. But when anyone in your lobby can run either third or first-person and there's not a dedicated mode for it, getting third-person peeked is an absolute bitch and not even worth playing the first-person mode. Sure, you can jiggle peek and hell, you can even ping enemies through the walls, which is a nice little flash from the past. But if you're going to have a first-person perspective, at least make it its own mode so everything stays somewhat fair. One other thing, I'm not a stickler on graphics much, but even at the max graphics that I'm running on my system, I shouldn't be seeing this sort of artifacting or whatever you want to call it on the weapon. I'm just saying. For my final thoughts, despite my critiques, I don't want this to be interpreted as me executing these guys at point blank. If anything, I want this to be used as a means of feedback. One thing that the scene is lacking is a solid third-person shooter that not only has fun gameplay, but something that can get anyone involved. The thought of having both first and third person in Caliber is insane, but the execution is like getting hit in the shins with a scooter. And if you only brought back the first person mode to appease to the western side of the world, then you may have done it for the wrong reason. Because at least in my eyes, and I could be wrong, debate me in the comments below, but the western side of the world are craving fun first-person experiences, and while having fun is subjective depending on the game you play, there are tons of first-person games to cling on to at least. All the good third-person multiplayer games are sort of dead and gone at this point, and the ones that do reign supreme over here for the most part are The Division, Ghost Recon Wildlands, etc. Third-person makes great PvE titles, even better if you have abilities attached, but you take that to a PvP setting, and in my eyes, you're bound to cause a whirlwind of shit that people won't care to deal with. All in all, I genuinely want 1C to do what's best for Caliber to become an international success rather than on the eastern side of the world. It's going to take a lot of rebuilding to make sure that happens. And is 1C willing to do it to see if it's gonna work? I don't know, but what I do know is that it's time for me to turn the mic to you. Let me know down below what you think about Caliber. And while you're down there, go ahead and smash that like button and third person peek that sub button. Also, YouTube can show you my content free of charge. Also, I want to give a major shout out to the current members of the channel. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. This is Sir Blackout signing off to play a game about washing dishes. Yeah, more on that next week. Later.